most transformative moments in life happen when we finally stop rushing past our own story and begin honoring it, not fixing it, not necessarily rewiring it, simply witnessing it with honesty, compassion, and presence. Today's conversation is about visibility, visibility rooted in soul alignment, visibility rooted in truth, visibility that invites people home to themselves. Welcome back to Catalyst Conversations, the space where clarity liberates, structure supports, and soul sustains the way we lead, create, and impact the world around us. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by someone who is helping authors step into a completely new level of visibility through storytelling, television, and aligned expression. Our guest today is Melissa Heather, someone deeply passionate about helping people recognize that every story carries meaning, impact, and healing potential. And what I love about today's conversation is that we're exploring more than writing or media exposure. We're talking about spirituality, soul alignment, duality, the human experience, and the sacred responsibility of sharing our truth. Melissa, I'm so
Hello, Desiree.
excited.
I'm
Welcome to
so
Catalyst
excited too.
Conversations.
It's going to be fabulous.
Yes, fabulous indeed. Here we go. Before we explore the work you're doing today, I'd love
Yeah.
to really begin with the personal journey underneath it all. So, what experiences shaped your connection to storytelling, spirituality, and helping others become visible?
How much time do you got, girl?
For you, as much as you want.
Oh my gosh, I love you. Um, I'm just starting to really tell my story now of how everything came to be in my life. We'll start with this. I always knew that I wanted to be an author. So I wrote my book, Dear Ego, Dear Heart. But I had to write it when I was in a different version of myself. And that version of myself came after my transcendence, my ascendance into soul alignment. It came after a car accident. When I was in my 30s, I had a car accident and I hit the back of my head where my peripheral vision is. And it was just a bump to the head, some whiplash, but it was more than that. It was turned out to be a TBI, a concussion, and I almost lost my vision in
Mm.
that I had a midline shift, I had a binocular dysfunction. I did 5 years of therapy, vision therapy to save my vision so I didn't go blind and kind of refocus my eyes. During that time, I wore what's called prism lenses and contacts. I couldn't go out in daylight. I couldn't even put sentences together because my brain, when I don't know, when you have a car accident and you have a concussion, your brain does this. And then those neural pathways, they kind of disappear and you have to retrain all your neural pathways. So it was from that accident, that darkness that eventually led me to my light and transcendence and soul alignment and spiritual awakening. So that's kind of my journey to where I am now.
it's
Dark
such,
part of it.
I
So,
mean, it's such a good story to share. But, right. And
yeah,
and this is true with all stories. You never know who needs to hear it. You never
of
know
course.
who in the room has been in something similar to you, where there is
Hmm.
a cohesiveness and a compatibility in someone that you wouldn't have thought of, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember about 2 years after my car accident, 2 years into therapy and I mean therapy of all levels, neuropath or physiotherapy, like psychology, because when you have a car accident, you lose that version of yourself. My eye specialist told me you need to grieve who you were and embrace who you're come. And I will never, never forget that statement. And you know, there are people that need to hear that story. A good friend of mine, 2 years later, had a car accident, same thing, brain injury. And I remember her calling me crying, like, when will I ever ski with my kids? What is happening? What's next? And, it was in those little spaces that I help people. And I want this story to help people now on a grander scale.
Mm, it's so good. How has your own relationship with visibility evolved over time?
I love that question, Desi. Okay, so it goes back to writing my story, and I had to be in that version of myself to write that story. I tried many, many times. I tried during therapy when I was, healing still emotionally and physically, and it just wasn't there. And then once I kind of allowed myself that space to heal and grow and align myself, mind, body, and spirit, I was able to write my book, but I only did it for myself. I didn't do it for anybody else, but then I believed in it because, like, every story is worth savoring and it has power. So, if you knew me a year ago, let's say, and I tell a lot of people this, I was shy and I had this book published and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I just started marketing it. And then I met Deb Drummond from 262 and it just became more and more visible. And I did a lot of the work myself, a lot of the marketing myself. I eventually, got it into Indigo. But I wasn't this media personality a year ago. It's literally been like fast track. Okay, I believe in the power of words. I believe in the power of healing. I believe in the power of story and that all our stories can really help other human beings evolve. So
Right.
here I am, invisibility.
Here you are being
My life is
invisible.
like this.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And I mean, it may seem like it's a fast track, and we kind of touched on spirituality a little bit, and we're going to talk about it a little more too. But I firmly believe that the universe or the spirit or whatever you believe in doesn't put anything in your path that you can't handle,
That's right.
right? So it's about recognizing it and owning it and coming out the other side a stronger you.
Yeah, and I think like the healing journey took a long time. The writing journey took a long time. And then, like, once I was aligned and I had my ascendance and transcendence, this part of it's coming fast, and that's the universe saying, "Okay, you're healed, you're here. Let's do this now. You're ready for this." And I'm ready to embrace it. It's funny because I don't know about you, Desi, but I'm a numbers girl. So 111, 444. And last week I just happened to check my pictures, and all these pictures had 941. And it literally resonated so deeply. Something was saying, look into the meaning of that number. And all the pictures were all like mountains, like me in the mountains, me on my healing journey in nature, where I healed the best. And they were all 941. So I looked into it, and it means that your transcendence, your healing, it's done. And you're fully soul aligned and you're ready to go forward and your call to action, your purpose. So,
Mm, beautiful, beautiful.
mhm,
I think so many people carry stories they quietly minimize
mhm,
too because they assume their experience isn't significant enough, right? And often the most healing stories are the ones told with honesty and humanity. There's something deeply powerful about giving people permission to see value in what they've lived through.
mhm.
When you work with authors today, what fears tend to surface most often around being seen?
That's an interesting question. Um, I think books, it goes two ways. I did mine the opposite way. I wrote my book and became visible. But a lot of the authors I'm working with today, they're already established in who they are and have a business and then wrote their book. But I've noticed a pattern with most of the authors coming on the book crawl that they all had a story that they needed to share. and that story within their book aligns with their business and who they've become, whether you did it my way or whether you did it their way. So I don't really hear any fears from them. I hear struggles about visitability, but I bet if we asked that question when they were in the darkness, in their trials and tribulations, they would have had fear. They would have never shared their story because it goes back to you have to be in a certain version of yourself
Right.
to want to share that story,
Yeah. I
is
mean,
my belief.
it's so true. It's so true. Like, you know me, I'm an open book now. You met me 5 years ago, not so much. Not so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same with me, girl. A year ago, I was like, what? You want me to post my book on Facebook? Are you crazy? You want to make, no,
What
no.
is this nonsense?
What is this social media stuff?
Well, I love that you're helping authors, step into that visibility in a much, much larger way through television and through expanded media option or opportunities. Walk us into the work you're doing right now and what feels most meaningful about supporting authors in this season.
Oh, I love this. I love the where this conversation is going. My journey to visibility and creating a TV show for authors. I had no dream to be in media. I am, the opportunity came up through the Women's Channel, and I said, I will only do it if I can do it for authors. And the reason being was I had to work really hard to get my book international, to get it into Indigo. The marketing of your book, regardless of what publishing path you go down, whether it's traditional, self-published, in or hybrid, is still on you, unless you're like, that's what you do, you're an Eckhart Tolle and your publisher is going to promote you. And through my process of writing and marketing my book and getting it to where it is today, I just kept, visibility can't be like this hard for authors. So that's one part of why I'm doing it in the story. I want to give them a platform where they become visible and they can be positioned as spot leaders, thought leaders with spotlights, with TV. There's not a lot of things out there for visibility for authors, and that onus is on you. The other part of it was in my healing process, in my transcendence, I lost my marriage from the car. I mean, there's other parts and components to it, but when, you lose that part of yourself or who you were and you're becoming somebody different, relationships tend to end, and it did. And I was a single mom. I was broke, broke, broke. And all I had, I won't share this, I haven't really shared this with anybody, was sometimes enough money to buy a book. And I would go to Indigo with my little bit of money that I would have, and I would find a book that called to me, that really resonated, like, you must read this book. And those books that I picked, all of them were bang on the time that I needed them. The Power Now by Eckhart Tolle being the first one that was really like my aha, okay, I get the meaning of life. I get the meaning of who I am. They all helped me in some sort of capacity. And that is how much power a book can have. Authors are thought leaders too. It's just in a written form.
So good. I have a question
Okay.
about about how you help people, your clients, the people you work with, stay aligned while they're becoming more visible, especially with all of the social pressures that are out there and things like that, and all the different squirrel trails that people can take.
Um, There's different facets of doing that. I have a really close-knit group for the first season of the show. We're all very aligned. Um, there's the organizational part of it where I'm giving them weekly updates, but I think it's really about me, either A, taking the pressure off them to market and position their book with visibility, B, aiding them in that. As an author, you still want to do that. You still want to market your book, unless you're paying a huge marketing firm to do that for you, which that's great. So I think from that perspective, that is how I'm helping them. And they love it. Like Tammy Cohen, she's an award-winning author, and she's like, I love what you're doing. Like you market my book, you promote it, you promote me, and yeah.
Yeah, so good. So good. One thing we speak about pretty often here on this show is aligned visibility. And that's visibility that comes from authenticity and service.
Hmm.
It's visibility that expands who we already are instead of asking us to perform.
Hmm.
And I think that people are craving that level of honesty now more than ever.
Hmm.
Do you feel visibility can become an act of contribution when it's rooted in purpose?
100%. Because the more people, your people will find you. My authors found me, and they are all rooted in service. They all have businesses, they are all entrepreneurs, and they are all bringing their perspective through their business and their book from a place of love.
Mm,
And that for me, that is why I'm doing this show. It's a lot of work. I still work full time too, right? So,
right.
and I just like stay grounded and hold space from a place of love for author and authorship because each one of them that are coming on the first season, they all have an important message to give. And the more platforms and spaces that can give that message, the better.
I love this conversation so much. You know this about me. I'm a voracious reader. I read 300 pages a day. I'm totally on board with you, right? They're
Yes,
and they're just so impactful. No matter the genre of book you're reading,
that's right.
there is something to be picked up from it. And I absolutely agree with, you have to read the ones that you're called to read because
Mhm.
there is a divinity in that calling.
Yeah,
Right.
you're making me emotional saying that because I'm just like replaying the movie in my head of, not being able to turn left or move my head, not being able to see, but, being able to at least find enough energy at the end of my healing physically and emotional that day to read a few chapters in a book.
Right.
And it all helped me to evolve me.
Right. Right. Oh, girl, me too. Me too. And I want to say this because I don't think it's talked about enough. There's a real responsibility in being seen, right? And there's also a responsibility in withholding wisdom that could genuinely support someone else.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. So before I wrote a book, I had a lot of, I just talked about this today. It's so crazy that you're bringing this up. I had a lot of transcendence and ascendance and downloads and moments. And if you look way back on my Facebook, you'll see Mel moments. And I used to post these like downloads I've had or nuggets of wisdom. And back then, this you're talking about like 14, 15 years ago, people would like my friends and family, they'd be like, "You're weird. You like that's weird. Why are you so woo-woo?" And I regret that I kind of like pulled back. I kind of stopped doing those things and giving those nuggets of wisdom and light because of rejection, I guess, and not fully being fully aligned with myself. Interestingly enough, I've been thinking, no, no, now this needs to come back full circle now because authentically, that is who I am. That is how I see the world. And that is the wisdom and love that I want to give as me while supporting authors and letting them give their message to the world.
Mm. Yes, yes, and yes. Yes. I'd love to move a little deeper because I love going deep here into spirituality and soul alignment because those themes are woven throughout your work, but also your writing. So many people are outwardly successful while internally disconnected.
Mhm.
What does soul alignment mean to you personally?
Oh, I thought our conversation was pretty deep already, but I love where this is going. For me personally, it is the connection within ourselves, mind, body, spirit. It is the conquering of the ego while the heart embraces the entirety. It is knowing that this lifetime, we are the purpose in this lifetime. It's that deeper knowing. So I hope
Mm.
that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Let me ask you this. What signs appear when someone abandons themselves in pursuit of achievement?
What signs?
What shows up?
Oh, within themselves?
However you want to take that question.
Oh, I like that question. Let me just ponder that for a moment. I'll probably share it from my own experience, if that's okay.
Well, that's the best experience.
So we all have ego and we all have heart. I look at ego as our thoughts kind of trying to keep us away from our heart and our authenticity. The signs before we kind of self-implode ourselves with ego is what I would hear. You're not worthy. This is I think Deb Drummond calls it the goblins.
I call them goblins too.
Okay, perfect. It's the voices that we hear that is meant to keep us away from ourselves and who we are meant to be from fear. So that's one sign prior to. So let's say you have the ego wins, the fear wins, and you've now imploded and you haven't followed through. You then, from the other side of it, your heart hurts, but you also are now carrying the guilt and the shame of not. That's how it showed up for me. The
Mm,
guilt and the shame afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Hmm. One of the greatest leadership conversations today, at least in my opinion, centers around internal sustainability.
Hmm.
People are building incredible things externally while
Hmm.
quietly, disconnecting from themselves internally. And eventually, the soul asks for our attention,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mine yelled at me. Um,
Yeah.
you also speak openly about duality, and I appreciate that so much because so many people feel pressure to appear endlessly positive or completely healed. How do you define duality in the human experience?
For me, it's the conversations between the head and the heart and the pull away. I think we are born light and love, and we know nothing of this. It's the social conditioning and structures and the beliefs that we're taught as a young age that segregates ourselves from ourselves.
Mm,
It is our jobs for our lifetime to be able to come back home to ourselves with alignment and learn how to observe those thoughts while embracing them. Like your ego, your thoughts, your negative mind, whatever you want to call it, that's never going to go away. That is part of you. I still have it all the time. I'm just able now to be like, no, I'm aligned and love wins, not fear. It's
Right.
fear or love. We only ever live for fear or love. We never, even anger. Anger is just fear. All of
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Um, I love this conversation so much, and this is why I love diving so deep on the questions. How how can people hold both light and shadow with compassion?
Well, they need to have the knowing. You need both. Okay, let me back this up. You need both. You have to have darkness in order to have light. It's not duality, it's polarity. Your darkness lead you home to your light. Your trials and tribulations lead you to your triumph. But I think people, because we're socially conditioned to attach shame and guilt to, you know, our negative emotions and love and light to our positive emotions. But that's all part of the human experiences. You can't have happiness without sadness. You can't have joy without anger. Like you have to have the experience of both sides. And people have to learn to understand and accept because awareness, A, is key. You can't change anything without awareness. So have the awareness it's okay and it's normal to experience negative and positive emotions, polarity,
Mm-hmm.
and that it is okay to hold space for both.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I don't think I need to add anything onto that. Um, do you think spirituality sometimes becomes disconnected from authentic humanity?
um, yes,
Yeah.
I do. Because I think when you start putting your persona of who you are, that can project or be perceived as, oh, that's her authentic self. Not a lot of people know that I'm the most spiritual, faithful person that you can ever meet. You know, maybe not a spiritual guru, but I really am that person because I don't think I um give that persona yet on Facebook, but my
Right.
deeper knowing or Facebook, social media, my deeper knowing knows that my spirituality and the my authentic version, they are aligned and that now needs to be shown to the world.
Mm,
Somehow it has to merge.
right. Right. I've found that emotional maturity often looks like integration. Holding grief and gratitude, fear and faith, ambition and peace. And there's tremendous wisdom in allowing all parts of ourselves to coexist.
Hmm.
Yeah. For someone listening right now who feels disconnected from themselves, what's one gentle way they can begin returning to their alignment?
For me, it was meditation, honestly. And I think a lot of people use, oh, I can't meditate. If you can take even start small with 30 seconds of just deep breathing and being with yourself, those 30 seconds well, first of all, deep breaths, just even if you're overwhelmed, taking that deep breath, the pause, it helps you realign and reconnect with this core energy, this being of yourself. So start with 30 seconds, and I promise that 30 seconds will turn into 30 minutes or longer. My boyfriend actually said to me the other day, because we were talking about spirituality, I'm like, I need to get back into yoga and I need to, start listening to spiritual podcasts again because that is who I am authentically and wholeheartedly. He said, prayer, when you pray, it's to have a conversation with God or a higher power, whatever you believe in. When you meditate, it is to listen. So whether you're listening to a higher power or whatever you believe in, essentially, we are our own kingdom. We're listening to our intuition. We're listening to ourselves. We're being connected with ourselves.
Oh, so good. What I know is that transformation often begins in those small moments of honesty. It's moments where we finally acknowledge what our soul has been asking for all along.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. One of the most powerful insights you've shared is this. Every story is worth savoring.
Mm-hmm.
I love that line. There's so much depth in that statement. What does it mean to you?
We are our own story of experience. It's our own individual journey. And each of us in this earth or universe, the core of us, our authenticity, our innate being, we are worth savoring as humans. So, our story as the human that we are in this life form, in this earth, is worth savoring.
Mm. We we live in a world that is constantly pushing people toward that next milestone, right? The next accomplishment, the next achievement, the next version of success. And savoring, to me, invites us to become present enough to recognize meaning while still living it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Do
love
you
that.
do you think people underestimate the impact their story could have on someone else's healing or growth?
100%, especially when we're not fully aligned. So, I wrote my book, and it is poetic. I started out writing a memoir, just like I've been through a lot in my life, like most of the world. And I wanted people to be able to connect with somebody that has gone through crazy amounts of, I won't swear, crazy amount of stuff, traumatic stuff that required healing. And I was just like, no, my comfort was to do poetry and speak metaphorically, and innately that's who I am. But I've come back full circle and I've started writing a memoir because I feel like even if that memoir can connect and help one person understand it in latent terms instead of poetry, then I've done my job.
Mm,
Helping my one friend that had a car accident 2 years after I did, that's important because that gives them faith. It gives them faith that they will reconnect, they will refine themselves, they will heal.
yeah, yeah. Come out stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's been one of the most meaningful transformations you've witnessed while helping an author step into that visibility?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Of course. What's
Okay.
one of the most meaningful transformations you've witnessed while helping an author step into the visibility?
Well, when it all comes together and when it's airing, I know it's going to give them all the visibility they need to position them as thought leaders. Each one of the authors in the show had unique transcendence. And I mean, I'm going to give them the, that's on them, good job. But I feel like just even having a support or a network, as small as it is right now, they're just there celebrating who they are, their accomplishments, and being celebrated for that. One of them just launched Simone Fairchild, um, Extraordinary Trauma to Extraordinary Dreams, just dropped May 5th. And, that's a huge accomplishment. And to be able to give a small amount of authors the space to cherish that and their story and savor their story wherever they're at, I've done my job.
Yeah. The way I look at it, it's being unapologetically authentic
Mm-hmm.
and not caring what anybody else has to think because you are the only person that has to live with you.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are the purpose.
Absolutely. And I also believe that legacy is less about building something impressive. It's more about helping people feel seen, understood, and less alone in
Mm-hmm.
this world. And stories, for me, create that kind of connection in a deeply human way.
Mm-hmm.
For the listener carrying a story inside them and waiting for permission to share it, what would you want them to know today?
Give yourself permission sooner,
Mm,
because that story being shared can help somebody sooner. And one person may need to hear that story to transform their lives and think about the deeper impact of that. If you're brave enough to give yourself permission to share your story sooner, wouldn't the world be a better place with people
yeah,
evolving
I think so. And
quicker?
I think you tied it beautifully back into, how we were talking in the beginning about you never know who needs to hear it. You never know who is waiting to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen in the time if you don't give yourself permission to get it out there?
That's
What'll
right.
happen to them? Right?
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Melissa, this is my favorite section. I'd love to move into Catalyst Lightning Round. Okay. So
Okay.
it's gonna be gut reactions. Gut
Okay.
reactions. So what does clarity look like for you in this season of life?
Light
Mm. What belief have you released on your spiritual journey?
expectations
Mm. When do you feel most aligned and connected to yourself?
in meditation.
What leadership quality feels most needed in the world right now?
Love.
Mm. What do you hope people remember most after encountering your work?
That their story was worth savoring.
Yes, I love how you tied that back in. That's beautiful. So good. This conversation, to me, it feels like an invitation to slow down long enough to truly witness ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? To honor the full human experience, to
Yes.
embrace both strength and softness,
Mm-hmm.
to stop dismissing the value of our own story. Melissa, you reminded us today that visibility isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more honest, more aligned, and more willing to let our truth serve others. As we close today, what's one final message you'd love to leave with the Catalyst Conversations audience?
Your darkness is your way home to your light.
I love that.
Thank you.
Mm. To everyone listening, your story matters. Absolutely. Not because it's polished, not because it's perfect, because it's real. And often the experiences we've lived through become the bridge that helps someone else find clarity, healing, or hope, right? This is the heart of Catalyst leadership: clarity that liberates, it's structure that supports, it's soul that sustains. Melissa, thank you for being here and for the work you're doing to help authors step into meaningful visibility and aligned impact. And to our Catalyst Conversations community, until next time, continue leading with intention, living with alignment, and creating impact that lasts.
Thank you, Desi.